You want more Albaz lore? Okay.
Aye. Subscribe.
Dimension Force is right around the corner, bringing with it some more highly anticipated strategies that once again relate to the Albaz world. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most versatile set of cards in this set that can function not only as individual extenders for other decks, but also a mini splashable engine, or even a full playable deck itself. Yes, I am talking about Therions. Button. Let's dive in at the deep end here just so you know exactly what we're dealing with. So first up we have Secret Rare Therion King Regulus, Earth Machine Monster, and his effect reads, you can only use each of the following effects of Therion King Regulus once per turn. First effect, you can target one Therion monster or one machine monster in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that monster to this card. So all of the Therions have this effect for their own individual types. They are all different types, meaning you can just put this in any machine deck and it's just a free special summon. All the Therion monsters then have a second effect, and this one is when your opponent activates a card or effect. Quick effect, you can send one Therion monster card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, negate that effect. Because it specifically says Therion monster card, this also includes the monster cards in your spell and trap zones that are equipped to your Therion monsters. So we have a very good negate here on a monster that just easily special summons itself to the field. There's no restrictions either, so decks like Cyber Dragon and Infinitrax can very easily just put this on the board for a free negate. A Therion monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack. Also, it can activate the second effect listed above as if it were Therion King Regulus. So we're also just giving negates away to anything now. Incredible. Next up, we have the second secret rare of the deck, Therion Lilyborea, which is a plant wind monster. Of course, it also has that special summon effect with a Therion monster or a plant monster in the graveyard, and this card's second effect is you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard as cost, add one Therion spell or trap from your deck to your hand. There's a lot of good search targets for that effect, which one way or another will lead you to some kind of interruptive play for your opponent. Also, with it being a plant monster, that gives decks like Sonavalons and Predaplants a way to access this engine. You can also special summon it off of the effect of Lonefire Blossom. The deck has no in-archetypal normal summons, so incorporating a card like Lonefire Blossom would be a very good idea if you are playing it pure. One of the cards you might be searching here, I could imagine, is Therion Discoliseum, the field spell card. It is an ultra rare, with the effect being when this card is activated, you can add one Therion monster from your deck to your hand. And the example I would lay down here is King Regulus. Assuming you had sent Lily to the graveyard for cost, you can then summon the Regulus and have your negate that way. Once per turn, if your monster would be destroyed by battle, you can send one Therion card or one Endless Engine Argero system from your deck to the graveyard instead. Once per turn, when a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Therion monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. It's worth noting that that last effect there isn't only when your monster gets destroyed by battle, but also when you destroy an opponent's monster by battle. Therefore, you could just be constantly recurring cards back from your graveyard to your hand. That is a lot of good effects on a field spell, and a lot of good recursion as well, because the Endless Engine card that you would be sending to the graveyard is also very good. Endless Engine Argero System. Also an ultra rare. If you're activating this from your hand, its effect is send one Therion card from your deck to the graveyard, which of course lets you start up your plays by sending a monster to the graveyard to then activate your special summon effects. However, if this card is in your graveyard, which it most likely will be through the effect of your field spell, you can target one Therion card in your graveyard. If both are still in your graveyard, add either that card or this card to your hand, and if you do, place the other on the bottom of your deck. You can only use one Endless Engine effect per turn. So not only are you protecting your monsters from battle, but you're also enabling yourself to snowball by adding back resources from the graveyard and allowing yourself to continue putting on the pressure. On top of the negate with King Regulus, we also have this very cool trap card, Therion Cross. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a Therion monster, you can activate one of these effects. Negate that effect, banish that monster. And if you have Endless Engine in your graveyard, you can activate both of those effects, negate, and then banish. There is a lot of good interruptions in this archetype. Next up, we have Therion Reaper Fume, which is an aqua water monster. Once again, we have that same sort of special summon effect, but the second effect on Reaper Fume is during your opponent's turn. Quick effect, you can target one Therion card in your spell and trap zone and one card your opponent controls. return them to the hand. That is a very nice bounce effect with a little bit of recursion, and the opponent's card doesn't even need to be face up. So this is like an in-archetypal way of being able to deal with opponent's set trap cards. Sometimes you don't want to return your opponent's cards to the hand though, sometimes you want to destroy them, and that's where Therion Bool Ain comes in. Fire Warrior, by the way, so free special summon in warrior decks if you fancy, but the second effect here is you can target one Therion card you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. While admittedly this isn't a quick effect so you can't interrupt your opponent with it, you can still set it up on your turn on the crackback and destroy your opponent's board. And if your opponent wants to destroy your board, you can set up Therion Duke Yule, a psychic light monster. Once again we have that same special summon effect, but the second effect of Duke Yule is while you control an equip card, Therion monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So not only are your monsters protected by battle with a field spell, your monsters are also now protected from card effects with Duke Yule, so your opponent is gonna have to find some creative ways to deal with your board. Now you might be thinking that is a lot of high level monsters that all kind of rely on having a monster in the graveyard already, but thankfully we have another method of putting things in the graveyard, and that is with Therion Charge. Send one Therion card except Therion Charge, or one Endless Engine Argiro System from your hand or your face-up spell and trap zone to your graveyard. Draw 2 cards. Yes, you basically have an orchestrated return, which is very, very good for the deck. And then the final card we have here today is a trap card, Therion Stand Up. Target one Therion monster in your graveyard, special summon it, then you can equip one Therion monster from your hand or graveyard to it. During the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 2 Therion monsters, one on your field and one in your graveyard. Equip that monster from your graveyard to the other monster you control. You can only use one stand-up effect per turn. So this is kind of similar to Tri-Brigade Revolt, where you're sort of getting yourself set up through your graveyard alone, and it sort of gives you a way of getting back into the game after your opponent has cleared your board. All in all, a very, very good set of cards that, as you may have noticed, does not require the extra deck, does not really use the normal summon, there's no archetypal normal summon to rely on, and there's also 0 restrictions. So already you can play this deck a million different ways, but yeah, that's going to be it for Therions and today's video. Tune in again on Friday for an early Dimension Force box opening. Subscribe to the channel so you get notified when that drops, and I'll see you then.